Hello, everybody. Thank you to be there for this session. I wanted to present ourselves first, so maybe you can stay on stage. Here's first Clement Escoffier, which is the R&D head of R&D in the Arrow group. He is the project leader of Chameleon and also the Apache Hypojo component model project leader. Then we have Christophe Hamerling, which is passionate developers in Petals. And myself, I'm Guillaume Sauthier. I'm working in Peergreen. And we'll talk about development 2.0 in OW2. So here's the tagline for these sessions. We will talk about what we have now, the Forge, and what we want to have in the future. So from Forge to distributed developer service that we call DAS, development as a service, as a joke. So we'll start by what there was in OW2. In fact, it was when it was Object Web. Object Web, we had the GForge system, was that wonderful user experience interface. Yeah. But at the time, Object Web was a forerunner because it was an all-in-one integrated solutions. There was CVS with a view, HTML view of your sources. You had an integrated bug tracker. You had some file management for publication of your release. You even had some syndication with RSS feeds. With news, so you can communicate about your release in Object Web. There was also mailing list on, because we had a lot of projects, we have some role management. Everything based on some LDAP system. So it was great, but we had to make enhancement to the platform. Because Object Web, it was in 2000, it was quite old. So there was some technical change in the meantime. So for example, we had to enhance GForge to move from CVS to SVN. We introduced also in the Forge wiki system. At first it was GSP wiki. But then we had to integrate more products because projects were asking for more features from their Forge. So, for example, we had some XWiki instances for your project. Even the OW2 website is hosted on XWiki. And we had some tools that are of daily use for developers, like Jira, a very known and very useful issue tracker. For the quality part, we had Bamboo, a continuous integration system, and Fisheye to have some better view of your sources. We also have to integrate some new stuff. Git OW2, it's quite recent. It's this year, in fact. We had to integrate Git into our Forge, so we chose Git OW2 at this time. And we also have integrated some Maven repository manager, which is called Nexus by Sonatype. And we also have Jabber for the instant messaging system. So everything is working quite well at that moment. So far it's good for developers because it's working for a centralized workflow. You work in your place, you commit to the reference point, the CVS or the SVN, and you have your project team clearly defined, who is in, who's out. But as you have seen, tools are scattered all over the place, so it's difficult to manage all of this stuff. And sometimes tools are not unified. For example, the user base is quite, sometimes your account works, sometimes it doesn't work. So it's difficult for the users. And everything makes the contribution wall too high. So it's difficult for an open source organization. So it's infrastructure now, maybe, but it's not completely lost because there is a new hope on I let the speech to Clement.
Thank you. So, yeah, I will speak about what we can do today and how we can improve our development process and efficiency in development and quality, of course, with the new tools that we are going or are already integrated inside the OW2 Forge, the kind of new Forge. Also, yes, it's a new hope, and while this morning on all presentations the word social was coined, it's a social world. So the first thing is, before I was using pretty centralized system like CVS or Subversion. Now we're switching to a more decentralized system with Git. You can use Mercurial too. The main difference is that you are not linked to one process or one workflow. You don't have any one reference. You can have multiple references. Everybody, every contributor, every user can have the complete history on his own machine, start working, and so on. And so you can define your own process. And for distributed team, it's really, really useful. You have the concept of fork, and this is really important. You see that on this picture. So what you have is, okay, you have maybe one reference, and then people are forking it. So they have a copy of all your source code, but it's still linked to your reference. So they modified it. So we see the different type of commit and so on and so on and so on. We see which branch, which fork is in advance and so on. And then we can say, okay, so we can try to reconcile them and so on. This is really important to be able to reconcile easily. And it's there where the socialization takes the biggest place in this game is the pull request concept. So before, what we have on Apache or what we had before on OW2 is you have your project, some bug or some new feature, and somebody contribute a patch through issue tracker and something like that, and you need to apply the patch. But, well, okay, a patch is a text file, there is more or less no discussion, you can have discussion in your issue tracker and so on, but it's hard to follow and stuff like that. With the concept of pull request, we completely changed it. Your contributor just create a fork of your project, start working on a new feature and so on, and say, hey, I'm done, will you like to review it? And then you can comment every line of code, you can discuss it, you can have really discussion with your contributor and so on, and at the end, when you are done, he can continue contribute on this pull request saying, well, I would prefer that, I would prefer a test about that, and when it's done, it's integrated. Main thing, and this is start to be very important, is the contributor is really the guy that did the fork and so on. When you apply a patch, it's the guy that applies the patch, which is a contributor. Everyone wants to be friends, and with this socialization, we have all the social networks which are connected to that. So we can have Twitter, Facebook, and so on. We have users that subscribe to change on one file or follow some pull request and so on, so some discussion, some mailing list and so on. It's not one communities anymore. Your project is not one community, it's a set of communities, especially for modular project where you have several components, then you may have one communities per component. And that's no more. And maybe inside those communities you have sub-communities, like they are interested only by this, or by following the source code, or by tracking the quality and so on. So putting all together.
So all of this is nice. We really want to put all these tools together, and Guillaume said that we are already working on that. Everybody knows that we have tools, all these atlassian tools integrated, all VSV and Git and so on. So this is quite a sort of open source paradise. So every open source developer wants to have this kind of platform where everything is well integrated and so on. So we really want to provide a better development experience, because we know that we have some problems with past system, and now we can really push this aspect. We really want to push the efficiency of developers, okay, and push the quality and productivity. So this is going to happen, and this is happening right now. For example, if we take the quite standard contribution process. We have some contributors, we have some team members who are working on the code, where all is, let's say, synchronized, and the central repository is cloned and forked by everyone. So we have this notion of pull request, which is really important, as Clement said, and everyone is able to contribute to the code. This is really important, and then push to the central reference. And then we have these tools, this continuous integration tool. Guillaume said that we have this Bamboo stuff, which is running. We are currently discussing with partners such as CloudBees to be able to provide more integration in the cloud. Another important point, and this is the session this afternoon, is the quality, the squat box, to be able to get feedback on the code. This is a really important point we want to push in OW2.
So all those tools are one main goal. It's to improve the quality of our software. It's more or less one of the goals of open source, but all the tools we are trying to set up and so on is to improve the efficiency of our development and to improve the quality. Not only the code quality, but really the quality in the large, the code documentation, the project documentation, and so on. The license checking, being sure that you are not violating any license, and there is so many open source licenses, it's pretty hard to know which one is compatible with the other one, and so on. All the socialization, more community, more people interested. Obviously, you will get more requests, more discussion, and you, by this way, improve your component on your project. And the final point at the bottom is being an OW2 good citizenship, being a good citizen, which means using the OW2 word correctly, using the right package name and so on. Everything make it a pretty beautiful and high quality project. So we hope to build this new infrastructure as soon as possible. Guillaume already started as a TC, and now Christophe is continuing this work. We are starting integrating new tools. We have discussion with new companies like CloudBee for the continuous integration system. Thank you.